Oh my damn, boy, it is Portland Open recap time. It is probably one of the sickest events all year. Not only the course, but also FPO and MPO had some amazing things pop up. Let's talk about it and break it down.
Let's go!
I don't even care about this tournament.
If Gannon weren't here, we would have how many? We'd have 16 players within 5 shots of first place.
And before we get to the recap, this video is brought to you by my merch just dropped this week. So if you want to support me, grab a great shirt or towel, and I'll also be doing 50% off any apparel with purchase of a bag. So if you're looking to pick up anything disc golf, Wild Runs Disc Golf is the place to go, and I still have some Nordic Phenoms on my site. So be sure to check it out and be sure to subscribe as I try to reach 10,000 subscribers before Worlds. But with that, let's get into the video. And I honestly think Glendoveer and the entire Portland area could really be a great home for Worlds. These courses are truly showing themselves to be pristine, high quality disc golf that challenges players both on accuracy and distance. And to go along with that, they have such amazing crowds that it really makes you care a lot more about who wins and who doesn't. And it just created such a fun atmosphere. So with that, let's go over MPO. And once again, the most interesting part about this weekend was not MPO. So we'll be starting with the MPO storylines and then to FPO, because honestly, it made me tear up a little bit. So I guarantee you want to stay till the end. So on MPO, the 19-year-old GOAT, I think it's official to call him GOAT status, at least running for GOAT status, because Gannon Buhr was up by 10 strokes before the final round. And I mean, he is amazing, but I did not think he would be this amazing. With nearly an identical 10 under every round through the first 3 rounds, with some of the best putts I think I've seen all year, especially with one particular putt where he was putting from a knee with a solar panel in his way, which made me think, why the hell do we have solar panels on our course? But of course, he still jammed it in. But let's talk about how everyone else did, and then we'll talk about Gannon Buhr. And next up, Drew Gibson, a player that has actually won this event 5 years ago. It looked like he might have potential to make like a run for maybe top 5, but then he had a rough round in round 3 with a 3 under, and then basically a total collapse in round 4 with a +4 989 rated round, dropping in 15 places in the final round, ending with 22nd place. And then next up, your boy Bodanza probably had his best tournament of all time. Now it may not look like it because he didn't play round 4, but then especially in round 2, besides 2 early bogeys, he played so consistent with 5 birdies and nearly 100% C1, which is especially impressive on tour with all the wind, all the pressure, and it certainly seems like his game is leveling up. So while his other 2 rounds totaled to be +3, he still finishes in 78th place with an overall rating of 1,000. So it definitely seems like every event, Anthony's just getting a little bit better week by week. And to just name a couple of pros that he is right next to, we have Kevin Jones, James Conrad, Adam Hammis, but this is such domination for what people consider to be just a YouTuber. So big shout out to Anthony, I love his performance. And next up, Eagle. Honestly, I think much like Anthony, he's getting a little bit better week after week. We know he has the capability to take down a Portland event. It really does feel like his home turf, even though he is from Colorado. I just associate him with Portland, and he is the one that battled Drew, leading to this epic rollaway. So while he did end with a whimper with a final round of only 1 under with 3 OBs and 1 double, he did finish top 10, but still 16 strokes behind the champion. Absolute madness. And then next up, Redalen, getting the most love out of anybody in the entire field because he is an Oregonian and he definitely gets that Portland pride, but really maintained his composure the entire way through with some phenomenal putting, especially hole 18 round 3, where he jams in this eagle putt. But very much is the case nowadays, if you have one bad round, that will really set you back, and that is exactly what he had with only a 1 under in the first round, putting him already 9 strokes behind Gannon. So he actually shot better than Gannon the final 3 rounds, but that's still nowhere near him, so he finishes in 2nd place with a very respectable 1048 rating. And honestly, I think this sets up Cole perfectly for the Beaver State Fling, where him or Eagle could really take down a surprise win. And just a brief little shout out, Gossage the Goose was loose, tying the hot round in the final round with 6 under, and honestly I didn't see too much of him on coverage, but whenever I did, it looked like he was playing very, very well, minimizing his OBs and making 4 circle 2 putts in round 3. Coming in at 3rd place is Ricky. Now I think this is definitely an event Ricky could take down, but having missed 6 circle 1 putts and finishing the entire event with a double OB, ending it with a double bogey, still finishes with a podium finish, but honestly being 10 strokes back the leader can't feel all that great because I'm sure Ricky really wants that win. So coming in at 1st place, a phenomenal scorching 33 under is Gannon Buhr. And honestly, I don't even know what to say. He has phenomenal putting, 92% circle 1, 33% circle 2, and all of these circle 2 putts just looked effortless. Every single one, it was just like, oh yeah, I mean, he definitely has his putt back. There are no worries about it falling out of the chains. And what I found intriguing is that so many of the drives and upshots just looked so routine for him. It didn't matter if it was 450 down a tight fairway, he was hitting gaps left and right, and it really seemed like he was never struggling. And I think this is definitely what you need if you want to recreate the Paul mentality where you win by like 10 strokes, because he was really not worried about any shot. It was just like, oh, how can I execute this like the most perfect way? And I think that was definitely seen in his eagle drives on hole 4, just so little effort required to make an eagle putt. And then in round 1, he was actually super pinched off, and then he jams in a phenomenal circle 2 putt that Udis has down at 60 feet. And after a win at Waco and 3 second place finishes, it is starting to feel like Gannon Buhr might actually be the player of the year. With Anthony Barella seemingly falling off a little bit, it seems like Gannon Buhr is really popping off and showing how good he truly is compared to the field. I truly cannot remember a tournament in the last couple of years where we had a player that was that far ahead. Maybe a Ricky win, even though final round wasn't necessarily the most interesting, it was still just electric to have that high of a lead, and the crowd was amazing cheering him on along with Cole. And I think Gannon would say he did so good.
My throwing was so good this week. My throwing was just so good. Felt so good. So good. So good. It's gonna be a fun night tonight.
And then as far as FPO, it was really just 3 players that were in contention. So first off, it was definitely looking like Paige was dominating, but we did have some very interesting players in the mix. First one being Sophia Donnecke, a Canadian player that has only played 2 touring events, but what is more interesting is her education. She has a PhD in chemistry, and part of her PhD research was computational chemistry, and her focus was, quote, modeling organometallic reactions ranging from atomic layer deposition to catalysts using quantum chemical methods. I can't say I understand that fully, but it is so cool to see that there is a dominant player from Canada, which we have not seen in a hot second. And I just want to reiterate, her only event on tour before this was OTB Open. So the fact that she is able to get a top 3 finish is really just astounding. And along with that, she almost got second place. But the person that took her down really played phenomenal with a 10-26 rated final round with an 11 under Holyn Handley. And while Holyn did not look like she was in the mix for the majority of this tournament, her final round was basically mistake-free with so many birdie chances. She came out hot and finished bogey-free, and it is exactly what Holyn needs to shake the trend that she is somebody that fumbles, especially in this final round moment. So while she did not win, it is still very exciting for her.
Beth at 69.
I just told myself, you got to will this one in there. Whatever you have, just will it in there.
This man is unbelievable. This is what athletes live for. This is the moment.
So with that, let's go on to the champion, Paige Pierce. It has been such a long time coming for this moment. After everything that happened in Norway, we really thought Paige might not be back for literal years. It did not look great. The weight required to have a plant foot when you throw just seemed to not really work for Paige, and her accuracy was not perfect, but that certainly seems to not be the case anymore. With such a dominant win every single round, it looked like Paige was the most dominant player, absolutely crushing the field with 19 strokes gained tee to green. And while she did have some great putts, the majority of her domination was hitting gaps and getting easy upshots. She was able to throw with so much distance and accuracy that it really does seem like she is back. She is no longer on the sidelines, kind of fighting for like a 10th place finish. But before we get to the very intense interview, one hilarious thing was this provisional played on hole 12 where she went through the Mando tree, and it was kind of like, well, is it actually missing the Mando? Because it didn't technically specify that you couldn't go through the Mando tree. So she plays a provisional from the drop zone and just hits it dead center from what I think to be like 150 feet. But of course, it was all for nothing because it was just provisional. So with that, Paige gets her first win since last year at OTB Open, and the win before that was actually Open at Austin, which did feature the same 2 winners, Paige and Gannon. But with that, here's what she had to say.
Winning is definitely icing on the cake for sure, but like stepping up to a tee pad and knowing where my disc's gonna go, that's the more exciting. But it's more just about like the confidence that this is gonna give me moving forward. I have a year's worth of people to thank, and like the first 2 people that come to mind are Missy and Tom, because they were with me when it happened. Missy was like 2 feet behind me, and they're putting my leg back in place and stuff. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to walk again or play. So yeah, I don't even care about this tournament. It's so much bigger than a tournament.
And while I know there are a lot of people that do like to hate on Paige, I think this is just so raw, so real, and it really does make you connect with Paige. Coming out of Norway, it was such a long journey. There was no guarantee that she would ever be the same player that she was before. And honestly, I don't know that she is. I don't know if she ever will be. But to see her fight back with so much quote-unquote fierceness, it really is inspiring, and it makes me very happy knowing that we might get a Paige versus Kristen battle. And it really goes to show that you can't just paint these pros as like this one-dimensional person. They have so many things that they have to fight through on a day-to-day basis, and it really makes you wonder how much effort they have to go through just to be on tour. But with that, speaking of Kristen, I do wonder how this event would have gone if all the Europeans were at this event. That is definitely not to say that Kristen would have dominated Paige, but the potential for her or Evelina to kind of battle against her would have been very, very interesting, and I do think it might have played out differently. So with that, what do you guys think about this event? Did you like it? Did you hate it? All in all, I think it was just so hype, so much fun to watch, and I really hope they upgrade this to a major, particularly Worlds. But with that, what do you guys think? I'd love to know. Be sure to check out my merch at wildrunsdiscgolf.com. So with that, Wild Runs signing out. Peace.